Are we the only ones?
Yes. Oh, yeah, where's Jan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, what budget? We don't need a budget, see we? Okay, now that it is 6:06, we will call this Finance Committee meeting to order. I actually have an agenda.
Yes.
Where is it?
Can you get one?
Okay, thank you, because I don't have one. I only have two. Okay, first I would look for an approval of the minutes of November 18th, 2024.
Motion.
Second?
Even though you weren't on, it's okay.
Yeah, I'll second.
I'll back you up.
Okay.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to go back to old business of per capita tax, our favorite subject.
Yeah, so there's nothing new really to report, just leaving it on the agenda. If we should keep it on there, I think there was talk about taking a look more at the budget. We haven't gotten to the revenue yet, so maybe that'll be a better time to sort of talk about it. So we can definitely leave it on here until that time.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. You guys good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to
Thank
new
you.
business, discussions and presentations.
Yeah, so the first thing is
Yep.
sorry.
Go ahead,
Oh,
go ahead, MCIU budget.
there you go.
There you go.
Yep, first thing is the IU operating budget. So this is what they sent to us, 2025, 2026 membership service budget. There's a lot of description here as to, all the different services that they provide. Oops. This page right here is the last page for Upper Perk. Highlight here. What we're looking at, what they're proposing, well, they're proposing a 4% increase among all the school districts in the county. So what that means for us is an increase of $1,428.
Okay.
So this,
I think that's a pretty good bargain, actually.
Wait to get the Western sign.
so, yeah, so, we bring it here to finance for you guys to take a look at it, for you to approve it, and then we can have it on February's action agenda meeting if approved here, for the full board to approve it. But they do go through the basically three different sections here. There's professional learning, which for us is $1,672. There's government relations support, $3,596, and then the bulk there's Office of Tech Services, $31,858. So we are looking at a total there of $37,126, which, as I mentioned, is $1,428 increase over the current year's budget of $35,698.
Okay. All right. So are you guys, so do we need an actual motion? Or are you just okay with us saying, go ahead and put it on February's
I mean,
agenda?
I think we're okay with just, direction of the finance committee approves it, whether it's formal or not. We need to have it on the actual board agenda.
Okay, I
For the
mean, we
board.
can make it formal, it's fine. All right, motion to add to
Motion
send
to
that
add this
first
to the agenda.
February. Go with that? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're good to go.
That's on February 13th.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I got this whole.
okay, thank you. All right, Western Center 25-26 budget.
Yeah, so we received the preliminary budget presentation from the Western Center. I will, so go to this slide right here. They're looking at an overall 6.55% increase. And there's another slide right here, which shows, that's not the one I wanted, $2.759 million for Upper Perk. Again, so their formula is based on a 5-year average of the students that are sent there. So our enrollment has been growing, and we do send the most kids right now in terms of the 5-year average.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so here this slide shows the increase in 25-26 over the current year. So for us, it would be a $247,000 increase or 9.84% increase.
Okay. Plus 247. That was a 9.44% increase?
That was a 9.84%.
Okay, I knew I was close, but.
And at the same time as us with a 9.84 budget increase, Springford is getting a negative 2.3% decrease, and Pottsville's increase is plus 1.95%.
We knew our good enrollment would catch up to us at
That's
some
what it
point.
is, right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I have an update in this Friday's board update, encouraging all board members to attend the February 3rd JOC meeting, because they're going to go line by line and really dig in. And there are some, in my opinion, and Mr. McCarrick and I talked a little bit, some assumptions in there in a preliminary budget that need to be fleshed out. So no one, and I'm not anti-Western Center,
No.
but when you look at a budget that's up 6-point-something% overall, when we're looking at less than 4, I know the numbers are different,
Yeah.
but it's every year, and it's something that we have to be aware of with some of the requests that are in there for salaries, as well as just some general expenses. And I can confirm, and Mr. Bishop and Megan can also confirm, that we've already shared the feedback to our administration that this year is going to be a tight year, negotiations-wise. Like I even said today in a meeting, if it's not priority one, compliance, staffing type of things, this is not the year. So that message has already been sent, just as clear as it could be. I mean, we're happy to listen, but, so it's a tight budget, and that's a big increase. So just eyes wide open. So I put that in there. Mr. McCarrick, I shared that I was going to do that. I'm going to attend the February 3rd meeting. I told Mr. Bishop, if you want to carpool, happy to come down to get involved. But probably the Flyers are playing or something, Cowboys news or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No
so,
Cowboys.
yeah.
No
Anyway, I
Cowboys.
think that it is in the board update for them, for the board, with that exact slide, the information. I didn't share the whole budget, but like I said, if anybody wants it, happy to share it. It'll change, but I think some of those numbers are big. They are what they are, but just need to know what we're facing.
Yeah, some of what, to add on to what Dr. Roche said, I was going to say the same thing, encourage the entire board, or I'll see if we can do a Zoom session so people can Zoom in also possibly.
My suggestion was that if you can't go, to send questions with Keith,
Yes.
JP, and Sarah. That way you bring back concerns or questions if you look at what's there.
Right.
But
We will be doing that Monday, the 3rd of February at the regular meeting. Some of the things that were built into the budget, as Dr. Roche said, was market value adjustments for leadership down there, essentially. It'll have to be addressed sooner or later, but, you know, they put a big bulk in there, and we can't just make a grand step. And we've gone through that here at our home
Yeah, but
districts
it's
for the
been
past few
going through
years.
there a couple of years as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some market
Oh, yeah.
adjustments as
I
well.
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, those are some
well, we're going
jumps.
to dig into all those, and in other portions of the budget, they actually had some numbers built in there to, because the Western Center had been neglected for a number of years. Just the past 3 or 4 years, we've been adding more money into some of the programs, just so we can get things back up to snuff.
Mhm.
So, and those are some of the things that we'll look at the next meeting, see if we can cut down on some things, and cut costs where we can.
Okay, makes sense. All right. Moving on to the 5-year budget projection. Yay. Favorite stuff.
Okay, so, I mean, I think it's always good to project out, take a look at 5 years from now. I mean, I don't know anybody that really just long-term budgets just year to year. I mean, we're always looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. But this is kind of putting it on a piece of paper, taking a look at the numbers. So this is through Forecast 5, which is a software that we use here. What it does is it'll take this first column right here labeled fiscal year 2025 budget, and then it builds everything based off of there. So those numbers are in there. I go in there and I tell it how to change different categories. So what I tried to do for the current real estate taxes in the second column there, fiscal year 26 projected, that's pretty close to where I think we're gonna budget when I present that in March.
That's the one slide I didn't print out.
Oh.
I'll find it. Thank you.
So that current real estate revenue number is the one that I'm thinking will be pretty close to, you know, what we'll have in March. Everything else, you just kind of tell it how to project out. So you'll see the second line there, the current earned income taxes. Every year there's a 0.5% increase. So I told it earned income taxes will increase 0.5% every year.
Gotcha.
I mean, who knows? That could be high, that could be low. I mean, it could
That's
be
your
right
best
on.
guess
Yeah.
right now.
Right. So there's a bunch of assumptions in here. Probably some of the biggest ones were what I threw into this formula is a 2.5% annual salary increase across the board, across all groups. So that's just assuming everybody gets a 2.5% increase. I'm assuming 8% for health and prescription each year. That, you know, is over the last probably 2 years, that's low, but that is kind of the industry standard when you're projecting out. Hopefully, we can do better than that. I added no additional staffing in this projection. And then for all the services, I added 5%, supplies 3%, and then charter school and our insurances, like the liability insurances, I put those to at 10% increases every year. So there's a whole lot of assumptions. There's no way that this is going to be spot on. I mean, it's based all off on the budget. So, you know, hopefully we do better on expenses with the budget, and hopefully we bring in more revenue than what's in the budget. So then the actual numbers will look nothing like this, but it's a starting point. So it's kind of like this yellow line down here. For the 24-25 budget, we had a budget deficit of 2.3 million, that's what we approved. And you can just see every year then it goes from 3.9 million to 6 million to 8.2 to 10 and to 13. And this isn't a projection as to how we're going to end up in the 29-30 year, but it's kind of just an illustration to show you that if nothing changes and we just go right off the budget and we end up right where the budget is, how those increases will sort of flow out to the right. So this is not, I'm not trying to tell you I have a crystal ball and this is what I see. This is formula driven.
It's what the numbers look like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean,
If
we
nothing
can,
changes,
Yeah.
except for what you've already built in.
and years ago I attended something where somebody was talking about these 5-year projections, and it's like, we can present this right now, you can look at it and go, yeah, we can't do X, Y, or Z, and then this is no longer accurate, because you just change your mind based on looking at this as to where it's gonna end. So
Gotcha.
this is where it is right now, we make decisions and everything would change.
Okay.
But the side benefit to this is that if we do go out to any kind of borrowing, one of the questions that they always ask, and I've been through it, is do you look at a 5-year budget? Do you project out? And do you present it to the board? So now I can say yes.
Yep. Box checked.
Yeah. So
Okay.
a little bit later tonight, we'll talk about something where just presenting this will benefit us if we go through with any kind of additional borrowing.
Okay. All right.
So you can certainly, I think the idea here is to take a look at this. We don't have to talk about it now, but, you know, take a look at it, and if you have further questions, we can talk about it in a future finance meeting.
Okay.
But definitely something to take a look at
You said you put 10% for the insurances.
for the liability insurances, yeah.
Where would that be?
It's buried under the other purchased services. So in the current year budget, it was 11.87 million,
Okay.
and then it would go up to 12 million. So it's buried in there.
Percentage of change, okay.
Yeah,
I was looking for
it's-
10%, actually, that's why it threw me off.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of it. So travel is in that same line item. Even the transportation would be in that same line
Oh,
item.
yeah, I guess.
It's all the 500s.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Object codes. Okay.
Yeah, that only really works on some of these, like the earned income tax.
Because it's only really one thing.
Yeah, yeah. And just to mention too, for the rest of the current real estate taxes, I assumed a 0.5% increase in just the assessed values. So it's no tax increase, but just the assessed values are increasing.
Thanks to the step ratio.
So, yeah, Forecast 5 doesn't, I can't do.
No.
I don't think it's step in there, is there?
No, but just the assessments going up for people improving their homes or putting pools in, you know, that kind of thing.
Been there. Got assessed for that.
Yeah. So I kind of had to play with the numbers just to get that revenue to match what I think it's going to be, because they do not have the multi-county calculation
Right.
in their software.
I don't
So I
blame
just have to
you.
tweak it a little bit.
I wish we didn't either.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any
Thanks for your
questions?
time on it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank
It
you.
is.
That's the first time I've seen it.
Great presentation.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Proposed borrowing summer projects. Next pile.
Yeah. So Director Cunningham called me after, I think it was after a facilities meeting, and said, maybe at some point you should present to the finance committee options that we have. We had been talking about all these summer projects that we had going on, just kind of, what would it look like if we were to borrow, I don't remember exactly how much you said, maybe like 3 million, 2 million, 2.
Yeah, I think I said 3 or 5. I was
Yeah.
thinking the restoration of the high school,
Yeah.
the money that we didn't get for roofing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all of that has to go back in along with the asbestos abatement.
yeah. So I called PFM.
They were big ones too.
Yeah. So I called PFM, who's our financial manager and handles any borrowings that we have. I said, can you give us just what it would look like for 3 million, 5 million, 10 million? Now, this was back in early December. So, interest rates go up and down, but at the time, this is what it looked like. So the blue scenario 1, you can see the principal amount there is for 3 million. And then column 6 is going to be the increase to the annual budget. So for that 25, 26 year, we would need to increase our debt service by $162,516,
Gotcha.
because that would be the payment that we would make.
And these scenarios are basically the same as our other bonds? Are they the same, like if you let me restate that. So like if you refinance something, I know when we've done that in the past, we keep it so that it has the same end date?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I think, so these are all like staggered. So when, and they do that, so that one bond, when one bond is over, or it's completely paid off, then another one kicks in higher, so that your annual debt service budget kind of stays the same, but you do have those dropping off and then others sort of picking up. So they do have these staggered as much as possible. I have to actually look at the rest of our debt just to see what would still be going on at the end of this one, because this is a 20, yeah, it would be another 20-year borrowing.
Right.
I don't know if that completely answers your question, but
Yeah, it
Okay.
does.
And it's paid once a year.
typically twice a year we pay.
Okay.
One of them is just interest, and then the second payment, I think they are, what, May and September? Our bond payments?
May and November.
May and November, yeah, that makes sense, yeah, May and November.
Okay.
So then one will just be interest, and then one is usually interest and principal.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no, it's fine. Yeah, so scenario 1 is 3 million, scenario 2 is 5 million, and then I just asked for scenario 3 at 10 million, just to.
While you're asking. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so then the scenario 2, the 5 million borrowing, that first year, we'd have to increase our debt service budget by almost $268,000.
Yep.
Do you like those numbers?
No, they're horrible. They make me sick to my stomach, let me just tell you that. It's like mortgage on steroids.
Yeah, I know.
Right, if you
Sickening.
consider what we have to put up with for the next few years,
Right.
projects and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, $10 million cost you 82 million.
Yeah, I would like that one. but-
Yeah, but, yeah,
Yeah.
but it makes me sick to my stomach. Okay.
Do we know the projects we want to do?
Oh, there's billions of them.
Yeah.
There's billions of them.
Okay.
I'm only taking 3 of them into account in my head.
Consideration, okay.
Yeah, and I'm just trying,
So
that was the reason I asked the
that's the
question.
asbestos, that's the roofing,
The asbestos and the restoration after the
that's right,
asbestos.
and, okay,
Because we don't even know what that number is yet.
right.
And we do have the sewer plant that we're,
Oh, yeah, that too.
Trying to go out for bid
There you
on.
go. Forgot that.
so that's supposed to be this summer also.
And the roofing, those 3
And
things.
some-
Yeah.
Asbestos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I know we have giant projects coming
Yeah.
and we have to finance them. And if we finance them with our fund balance, with our capital projects,
Capital.
we won't have anything left.
I know, I'm not,
I don't think we can do that either.
so looking at those, it doesn't look too bad.
Doesn't look too good either, because that's a lot. I mean, I personally, if we were doing that, I would say 5 million. But again, 5 million turns into 74, almost 75 million in 20 years. It costs us almost $268,000 a year of which we're already upping our NCI, our Western Center budget that much. And remind me, every % of tax increase yields us $500,000?
Roughly.
That help? No, yeah, but it puts the perspective
Yeah.
Yeah, so that 10 million puts you at 1% to 2% every year
all by itself.
without any other.
That's great.
Yep. Yes. Thank you for looking at that. It's
Yeah.
ugly,
Thank
but thank you for looking at it. And I'm still not ruling it out, but I don't like it.
But yeah, right.
I wouldn't rule it out either.
No. Okay. All right. Any questions on that other than mine? Okay. All right, we'll move on to budget presentations.
Okay. Okay, so once again, just the timeline here, back in November, we talked about those 4 budgets. Tonight, we're going to talk about transportation, the business office, HR, school board superintendent, communications, and grants. And then the plan is, we need to sort of, at least internally, talk about facilities. I'm not sure if that'll be on February, if we're going to push that back just with the new director coming on.
Makes sense.
But we will at least have technology, special ed, pupil services, and assistant superintendent in February, and then March will finish it out. We did also push back curriculum back in March, just with,
Mrs. Bass
Yeah,
not here.
about a little
Yep,
more time.
gotcha. Okay.
April, we'll have proposed final budget discussion. And then in May, we'll have some more discussions, and then action agenda item in June would be the vote on the final budget.
Gotcha. Okay.
So tonight, unfortunately, Ms. Malone was sitting there at, about 3:30 saying, I think I'm getting a fever. So,
Oh, no.
yeah. we
So
said-
I'm glad she's not here.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
least it's okay.
Yeah, so I'll try to pinch hit here. Just looking at the transportation budget here, obviously the largest item is going to be the regular bus runs. So we do have a contractual increase of 2.5%. So that's what that increase is right there, along with the non-public bus runs. They're both all done through Christ. So that's a 2.5% increase on those 2 line items.
Do you remember off the top of your head how many years we have left?
I think we have.
At least 3
I
and
think
probably
it's
4? 3.
3?
We
It was
did
7. It was
6.
7.
Six, was it 7? So then we might have 4.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4. I can look at some point while
It's
we're.
okay, I'm just pontificating. Okay.
The fuel line right now, we're leaving it at 300,000, which is the same as in the budget for this year. We have not locked in any fuel yet. Let's see, so for this year, we have diesel locked in at about 261 and regular unleaded gasoline at about 225. So probably in the springtime, we'll take a look at the fuel bid. The IU has already collected all of our information.
Good.
But we do go through a cooperative purchasing with our IU.
Got it.
Oh, why am I keep doing that?
Is it moving on you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it
The right
does.
spot.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Not much change there in travel and communications, just a slight increase. There is a decrease there in supplies and technology. There was some startup costs on the technology side of transportation that we no longer anticipate. So that line should come back down to $25,000 there.
Good.
That's a good question there. Thank you.
Okay.
So then the total is about $96,000 increase, and that's really all the 2.5% increase in the contract.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, so the business office here, so tax assessment, the professional services here are the fees that we pay for the Berkheimers, for the Portnoy, those companies to collect our taxes for us. Not much change there. There is an increase here under the 500s, which is every 4 years we have to pay for bonding for our real estate tax collectors.
Okay.
And as far as I can tell, 25-26 is when we're going to need to pay for that, and that's just over $20,000 just for the bonding that we have to pay.
Okay. Do they get those bonds on their own, or do we?
We pay for them.
Yeah, we get, well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Since we're protecting us.
And I believe, I have to find out more information, because it's my first time going through that, but usually at the county level, they decide one bonding company, and then you can hope to get a
Everybody
little
does it.
better pricing that way.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And then the fiscal services, which is really the business office here, that $8,000 is really the payment for the GASB 75. So we're required for our audit to have an actuary come in and sort of assess all of our benefits that we have. And then they do some calculations and they provide a liability for our auditors to book in our financial statement.
Okay.
It's also an unfunded mandate from the federal government, but what are you going to do?
Well, maybe that will change.
So then between the 500 and the 600s there, I just sort of swapped some money around, took some out of travel and communications, put it in supplies, and but those two are minimal sort of back and forth there. And then the dues and fees, so this is where we do have our fees to pay the bonds, and we also do have our professional organizations that we belong to, and also the RevTrak fees. So that's the credit card use, right? Yeah, so the credit card use fees also come out of that line item.
Okay.
And there you can see it's
Really not that much?
yeah, about
Here's
$6,000
that much?
increase.
Okay.
So moving on to the school board, the professional services there are, so any professional development with the board, if there are any other services that we have to purchase, a lot of that recently has been real estate appraisals.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the reason for the $3,000 increase there.
Okay.
Is that PSBA too?
No, that's under the 800s.
Look at you knowing that.
But if there was any professional development from
Correct.
PSBA, that would be, yeah, that would be there. Trying to predict legal and accounting. We finished 23, 24 at a pretty good place, so I felt a little comfortable dropping that down $25,000 to sort of line up where our actuals were for 23, 24. So hopefully I can keep it there.
Thank you.
So then the travel, insurance, and communications, the bulk of that there is going to be our liability insurance. We code that under school board.
That include our cyber?
That does include our cyber.
Thank you. How is that huge?
So that's the big increase there, along with, I'm assuming, just a 10% increase in our liability insurance.
Makes sense.
And I'm certain that when I meet with our broker, they're going to talk about the wildfires because the insurance companies are there, but then the insurance companies have reinsurance that they call it, so they have insurance on top of their insurance. And I hear it every time, well, this happened, hurricanes, the reinsurance market is increasing. So I'll find out more when I meet with them, but that's
Yay.
typically what I hear.
I love insurance. Not.
Not much too exciting there on supplies, dues, and fees. I am just calling out that Upper Perk Valley Library donation, which we did talk about in depth last year.
That's so nice.
No, we're not supposed to do that.
I was gonna ask,
We're
do
not
you do
supposed-
that every year?
Yep. We're not supposed to, technically, we're a nonprofit, so we're not supposed to be giving away money,
Okay.
especially because it's public funds. I don't know what to do about that. We've been talking about this for years, and
We talked
we
about it a
all
lot
know
last
it's not
year.
supposed to, for years.
Do we
How much
give it
was
to
the
them
donation?
next year?
5,000.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but what do you do? Like,
My
they help us
understanding is
do
it
things?
started back when computers were just first coming out. And the
Yeah.
library had the computers, and students were going to go from the schools to the library to research and go from there. So think how far back that was.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing it.
And now they just do it on their
But
phones.
but that's also a part of their budget.
But we also have, they have programs for little kids, they have.
They
programs-
do.
They're all key
Utilize
to
that.
us.
I mean, it's.
I don't know what to say about
They're also being
that.
supported by other groups too. I mean, I know that the Rotary's donated to them a number of times for different, you know.
I keep saying I'm
equipment
gonna
and
call the director and talk
programs,
to them
so
about it.
Maybe you could.
do we cut back a little?
Did we make the donation yet?
No, this is in for this year
This is
probably.
next year, okay.
Yeah, I have to check, I'm not sure.
Even this
Exactly.
conversation we're having right now will trigger a phone call to someone.
She said,
myself.
she's like, I'll call her.
Well, no, we'll trigger a phone call from them to us
Yeah,
saying, is it still in your budget? Are you
we used to get a
planning?
presentation.
Oh, okay.
that somebody from the library would come and give us a whole presentation about all the things that they're doing. I haven't seen them in quite a few years. And by your surprise, it's probably been more than I even think,
Yeah, I
so.
don't know.
As some,
Maybe a reduction.
sure.
They've changed directors there twice now, three times.
Okay.
Um,
I haven't been there in ages myself.
They do amazing things.
I know they do. I know. I get that. I do. I get that.
And remember, we gave the foundation 50 grand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was the seed.
I worry about the PR, the negative PR.
I get that. That's why we still have it in there right now.
So,
All right. I'll look and see who the director is and maybe I will have that discussion.
I can connect you if you need help.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll never forget when we were talking about this last year, all of a sudden something popped up with PASBO, which is a statewide business group that we're a part of. Somebody put that question out there, does anybody donate to the library? And there were a bunch of districts that do say they have in their budget to donate to their local libraries.
Okay. All right.
So there are other schools that.
At least it's not just us.
It's not just us.
Yeah. And they haven't reached out yet this year. We
They
haven't.
will now that we talked about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. We just conjured them up. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
We just
Sarah
conjured
asking
them
the
up.
question, did we pay yet?
Yep, yeah, and they'll be looking.
Our last payment to them was October 2023.
Oh,
So we didn't do 24.
Oh, so we just didn't do it.
It's still
Okay.
this year.
yeah.
This fiscal year.
Good job, Drew, putting it out there now.
Yeah, now you're really good at it.
It
Yeah.
wasn't me.
Now you're
It's
really
a
good.
good thing.
It is.
Yeah, agreed. It's just, again, eyes wide open, right? Just be aware that it's there.
Right. Okay.
All right, next slide, I just totaled all of this up, so we're at 1.84.
Can I ask you a question? There's a
Absolutely.
human resources slide that we didn't do.
Did I miss one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Ah, I did
Yep.
see that. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
Sarah pointed that out. I was like, wait a minute.
I must have double clicked on something, okay. Yeah, so the HR department, so that 13,000 right there is our employee assistance program that we do pay for our
Okay.
employees if they, are having trouble. There's a place for them to reach out and get some help. Travel and communications is, that's travel reimbursement, that's also the advertising. So anytime we have a new position, we always advertise, that cost is in that line.
Okay.
The software items there are boilerplate, Forecast 5, and also our applicant tracking, which is when
Job
people are
listings.
applying here, applying here, that
Gotcha.
software that they submit everything online, and Mrs. Fisher just gets all of it right there, and can assign interviews and all kinds of good stuff.
Good, and that's good, because that's really not a lot of money for that,
Yeah.
a whole district for that. That's
Yeah.
not bad at all. Okay.
And finally, that last line there, substitute services. If you look at the 23-24 actual line item, it's $984,000,
Okay.
and we had 829 in the budget. So it's a good thing. We're getting subs. A few years ago,
Yeah, the swing has definitely
Yeah.
increased with the number of subs and how we've utilized it.
so that's good. We do have subs coming in, but it does cost.
A
And
fortune.
and often some of these do offset salaries, so if someone is out for 6 months or a year, or if they were that long, we would be paying them out of the district funds, but, a couple months or that type of thing. And they're not getting paid in their salary line up in the 100 line,
Yeah.
they'll be coming out of this line. So
Right.
some of them offset a little bit, again, that's where you get some of those.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Questions? No? We're good? Transportation Business Office, and sum it up.
Yeah, so this slide just has the sum of those departments that we just talked about there, 1.8 million, which is an increase over the 1.6 million. So we kind of covered all the changes there. I just couldn't fit this little total thing on the previous slide, so I had to move it on to another slide.
And it looks lovely on my.
One word per slide, that's you.
Yeah, that's it, yep, yep. All right, so it looks like it's for those groupings about $200,000 more this,
Yeah.
next year than this year.
Yeah.
Budgeted, okay. All right.
All right, grants. So we started budgeting here like a local donation line item. So, if the the PTFS has $2,000 to donate to a building. We put it through here because we're not budgeting for that 2,000 anywhere else. So if they, give us money to spend, we can't spend it because we don't have any expenditure budgeted. So last year was the first year that we started budgeting $75,000 for any local donations. That money doesn't get spent unless it comes in. So that way we have both the revenue and the expenditure side of it. We're not overspending our budget. Not a whole lot of change here. Ready to Learn is a state, I don't even know if it's called a grant anymore. It's really been incorporated in the governor's budget over the last, 4, 5, 6 years. It's kind of just become a staple in the state budget. So that's our amount, $378,374. Title I, there's our federal money, Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. For Title I, it's typically reading, but can also be math. I think maybe we do some money for math there. Title II is typically professional development. Title III is, we typically buy books for our English language learners. And then Title IV can be used for a lot of different things. It's mostly for the arts, but we have, starting this year, transferred that all into Title I to cover the salaries that are being paid for out of Title I. IDEA is, it's federal money, but we do get it passed through the IU, but it's for special ed expenditures. So we use it to pay some of the special ed expenditures that we have through the Montgomery County IU.
Okay. All right.
Access is also special education money. It's also federal. We have a pot of money that kind of sits out at the state level, and then we draw down on that with the expenditures that we use throughout the year. So there's our CARES and our ESSER money, which is completely gone. And then the other state grants, I put $80,000 in there. That's the PCCD safety and security money that has been incorporated in the state budget. We know we're getting this because we do have a grant, I believe that was awarded this year, that's going to stretch over 2 years.
Gotcha. That'd be
Most
like what's
times-
left of it.
Yeah. So you'll see right there, 23, 24, 322, almost $323,000, and nothing, or very little was actually budgeted because we don't typically know that we're getting all that money until the state budget is finalized, which always happens after our budget is finalized.
Of course.
Even though we both have the same deadline
Yep.
of June 30th.
Okay.
Is that a little shot?
Maybe a little,
Yeah,
yeah.
just a little, yeah, just a little.
Little dig.
Just a little.
So there you can just see the total, and I back out the salaries and benefits because when we look at the salaries and benefits, any grant funding of salaries and benefits will be included in that salary number.
Right, but it's not paid from local sources.
Correct, yeah. Yep. But that way you get a true picture of what the salaries actually are, instead of showing some here and then not over there. I just think it's
Yep,
more
it's got
comparable.
both
if I
sides.
include
Yep.
it, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So just a summary then, those 4 lines that are grayed out, that's what we talked about back in November, so that's not new, but the new lines are the 3 below. So there you can see $189,000 increase in that school board, superintendent, business, and HR. Again, I think 126 or 127,000 of that is just substitute services alone. You can see the transportation increase there, that's just based on the contract. And then our grants.
Very nice. Nice and clear.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Do you guys have any questions? I don't either. That was lovely.
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 Write that down.
Write that down. Would you put that in the minute?
I'm gonna hear that off from now.
Yep. Sorry. All right. No questions on that. We'll move on to informational. What you got for us?
All right, so, and I think it's December 15th is when the PSERS board officially certified the rate of 34%. So that's a state mandate, unfunded, well, it's not unfunded. They fund half of all of our expenditures. So for every dollar of salary, 34 cents has to also be paid into PSERS for for the
Retirement.
pension.
Gotcha.
So they certified 34%. When I initially started the budget, they were projecting 34.72.
Yay.
So
So it's only
it's-
0.1 more instead
Yeah.
of,
So it's kind of savings, but not really savings. But yeah, if we would have went with the 34.72, net, that would have been an additional $122,000 that we would have had to pay. So coming down to 34% is a good thing.
yep,
And it's 0.1, right, it's 0.1% over where we are this year.
gotcha. Okay. All right.
And then-
Federal Reserve.
Yeah, so we're talking about borrowing. Back on December 18th, the Fed did reduce the rates by 25 basis points. I think I had heard that they expect another 50. Oh yeah, so they implied an additional 50 points will be reduced by the end of this calendar year.
Okay.
So, just looking at that, maybe the longer we can hold out to borrow, the better,
Mhm.
if we have to.
And do we have, I forgot to ask you this when we were talking about that. Do we have any bonds that might be refinanced for a profit on
We
our
have-
side?
We have 2 of them that are callable, and
Okay.
we have, everything is all set and ready to go.
Okay.
We just need those interest rates to come down.
Okay,
So we're all set. If those 50 points come down, then we may be at a point where we can refinance a couple.
okay. Because that'll give us a little breathing room if we need to add debt.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna come down.
I'm hoping. My
There's
favorite.
5,000 for the library.
Yeah, that's it, plus 5,000. That's the 5,000 back in our coffers, yeah. All right, perfect.
That was a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any public comments? Hi.
Early on, you talked about summer projects.
Summer
and
projects.
The massive summer projects that we have. Were you including the turf and the gym floor in that?
No, I just did the ones we already have to do,
Yeah.
that we literally have to do.
Yep. And then Drew, when you were presenting the upcoming budget presentations, transportation, and I don't want an answer now. I know you're amazing and probably have the answer, but.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Lovely, yes. But I'm wondering what kind of transportation costs we could save in not busing middle school, those 3 middle school sports to the 4-5 and keeping them on campus. Is that a significant cost savings, that we could look at? Don't need an answer now.
Yeah, I can't give you an answer now,
Yeah,
but I'll
whenever-
definitely,
Yeah, whenever you have time to look it up.
yeah.
So just something to think about.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Committee members? And welcome, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks for welcoming me.
It's a lot.
No, just want to say thank you for all those presentations. They were amazing
And really
and
simple to
in-depth
understand.
and, yeah,
Still a lot of numbers, but
It's okay.
I love
it is. Thank
They
you.
were lovely numbers. Okay.
Just a
and-
reminder,
Go ahead.
put February 3rd on your,
Yes, please join us.
Keith, I'll be in Indianapolis, so sorry.
Oh, you can zoom in.
Yeah.
I can sense your disappointment.
She looks really upset.
Devastating.
I think she looks
I can
upset.
feel the
That's
empathy
lovely.
from here.
That is lovely.
All right. Well,
You better
we'll
get a
have
zoom on that.
Yeah, right? Wait,
Sarah was all over that, man.
yeah, we'll zoom in out for sure. All right. well,
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you.
There's,
No further
yes,
discussion
hang on to
now.
that.